And welcome to another episode. Twitter algorithm decoded today. I've bled my eyes on that platform. Literally bled my eyes on that platform. One of the things that you may encounter as you're trying to grow on Twitter is that you get so hyped up and you put in the intensity and you do a lot of posting and scattered replying and you don't get the result back. And while the bigger accounts are always going to tell you, hey, go do a lot of engagement and things are going to go your way and just keep consistent, it is true and it's not true at the same time, because there's some nuances to the game, and there's like typically two camps. There's like a camp favorizing the content and like, oh, you gotta post good content, and then on the other side you have people that are saying you have to engage a lot and that will come true for you. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, especially as you are a smaller account and you need to have enough meat on the bones. So I think there's awful lot of people that are in Twitter growth space are gatekeeping you the proper information. Like 100% know this for a fact. Like observing the big accounts, saying one thing and being the other. Especially true for people that are telling you like, go leave 200 responses per day. Just like makes no sense. Like 200 replies, like what are you supposed to work for Twitter and you're not getting paid? Like just absolutely doesn't make any sense. There's like a better way, and I'm gonna get to it. But first I wanna address the elephant in the room. If you don't have something feeding your content with the relevant information for the algorithm, and I'm talking here replies, likes, retweets, and bookmarks in particular, you are not, and I repeat, you will not grow. So especially early on, the priority that you have to take with your account is to consider how algorithm observes these likes. So one of the things that has changed over the years is that there is this sophistication of the topical clusters and topical groups that you are a part of when you're engaging on Twitter. And I know this because my account went through a lot of different niches over time: productivity, cryptocurrency, money Twitter, etc. Like I was finding my niche, right? And I've noticed that every time I would switch from one niche to another, my account would take a hit temporarily until it starts picking things up again, and until you start feeding the algorithm with enough of the relevant signals to let it know what your content is about. So the same thing happens in Google's SEO. Like if your website has topical authority for one theme, you are naturally going to get propelled within that theme or a niche. So that's why a lot of people on Twitter are so focused on niching down, because they get more of a dopamine hit because they're getting sent more of the engagement. So how do we observe that? What does actually happen? You start seeing some people that are in your cluster in For You feed. So when Twitter's algorithm determines that you're a part of the cluster, starts sending stuff into For You feed that is of that affinity. So that's why you need to engage strategically around your interests so that you can more easily converse with people around your interests. That way, when you're posting content about those particular interests, you are going to be propelled within that cluster. So you're going to get that visibility upwards, right? And sometimes you will see certain parts of Twitter are complaining harder that they can't grow. While when you start to look at things outside of that particular cluster where people are complaining, you start to realize that it's only that cluster that's complaining. Everyone else is like growing consistently. There is like a slowdown of Twitter growing as a platform, but that doesn't mean that you can't grow. There's still 250 million daily active users on the platform. Like if you don't grow, it means that you're not doing a couple of things together. So it's not content, it's not engagement, it's the mix of the both and the strategy that you need to take to take effect. Now, the thing is, there is no one size fits all answer. There's no cookie cutter approach where you're like, oh, just post this kind of content and somehow you're magically gonna get followers, right? It just like doesn't work that way. The thing is, if you're hyper focused on growth, there is one mechanism that works guaranteed every time. And that is going and making friends on the platform. And when you get a new content piece that you want to promote within that particular cluster or a niche, like, so we're talking about like, hey, I want to push this content piece within this niche. You go and ask your 5 friends or 10 friends or whoever that they are to boost your post. That works guaranteed every single time, right? And then you make more friends from that vertical. You talk to more people based on the responses that you get from that particular boost that you built for yourself organically through networking. Hey, can you repost me? You're my friend. Repost my post. Like done. That is the one thing that I never see anyone talk about on YouTube. Like, just ask for someone to repost you. That's it. Like, it's not rocket science, right? But you need to go be strategic about it. One of the things that I did see work really well, especially when you're a smaller account, is that you're targeting your engagement half an hour to an hour before you post. So that when people see that you responded, they come to your profile and then they reciprocate and give you a like comment on the content that you put out. And Decoded, he's one of the how would I say, influencers in the indie hacker community. He was promoting his failed startup doing this way, and he was relying on memes, and he just zeroed in on one cluster, which is the indie hackers, and he blew up until like, I think he's like 90,000 followers almost right now. So he was the guy that kind of got me hooked into this whole Twitter algorithm thing and got me to observe this from that perspective. Now, granted, what he did was brutal. Like, that's like 10 hours a day on Twitter, and he managed to grow it because he kept this whole engagement game, right? And I think that instead of this grind of engagement game, where you have a lot of obstacles coming your way, right? And one of the obstacles that I've noticed is that some of the accounts are gonna deboost you. So you can't be engaging with just about anyone. Like, it has to somehow pop up in your For You feed, because if it's not popped up in your For You feed, or you're following some accounts that have like less than 100 followers, like super small accounts with like a bad ratio, it's documented in the open source part of the algorithm that interacting with super small accounts and accounts that are doing follow for follow and have massive amounts of followers actually deboosts your posts temporarily. So you actually have to be somewhat cognizant whom you're interacting with, because the Twitter is a trust network, right? So who trusts who, and that's why the reciprocal engagement is so important, that algorithm identifies you as a pillar of the particular cluster. So like, there's a lot of accounts that have less than 10,000 followers. They have more actual visibility and recognition on the platform than a bunch of accounts that have more than 100,000 followers. So that whole thing makes no indication of who's making how much money based on their follower count. There's a lot of accounts. My account was a dead account up until recently because it had like so much baggage from the past, and a bunch of people that follow me haven't turned on Twitter account in 4 years. Like I was like looked for everything that was like on my follow list. Just had to remove a bunch of people that was just like inactive, not like from my following list, not from the followers. So they couldn't go through that many people and see who was like active or not. But my account's been active like 15 years. You can imagine that quite a few of people that followed me 10 years ago, they don't even use Twitter anymore. That's like my dead MySpace, right? So that's also one of the things that's important to understand. Like, the number of followers doesn't matter. Daily active users that are your followers, that are actually looking at your content, real active people, that is what matters. So, and this is indicating very interesting phenomena because you do actually have some form of an audience and you are building a relationship with these people, especially when you're showing up every day. You kind of start to see same faces in your notification feed and you know whom you can interact or not interact with. So make good content, but don't be deluded that good content is going to get you somewhere. So if you want to guarantee some eyeballs on your content, make some friends and then ask your friends to push you within their network and be strategic about it so that you don't have to grow a crazy large account in order to get clients, in order to get people to buy your product or course or whatnot. You just need to get with the right people, help each other out, make some friends, have them repost you, you repost them, hand goes in hand, and enjoy it. It's a social experience. It's like you do not need to go in and leave 100 replies in a day. It's just retarded. Like it makes no sense. But like creating a list of people that you want to talk to, that you actually enjoy, like, and trust, and sharing some wins and what you guys are doing and connecting genuinely. I think that's like the Twitter algorithm decoded for 2024 and beyond. And not just Twitter, like any other network. They're heavily relying on replies as a ranking factor. Like what goes at the top of the feed, which content's gonna go now. It's kind of like a rapid version of the Google's algorithm, and it's using these signals. So I hope this shed some light on the Twitter algorithm. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like, subscribe, ask me questions in the comment. I know I'm gonna get some questions on this one. So love y'all, have a good night.